titled Balanced Meal, and as you can tell by the game title, it's about nutrition. The educational goal was to be able to teach the user about different types of foods and categories that are essential to one's diet. And my main target audience was high school students because they have experience in the 9th grade biology class when they learn about this unit, and it can also help high schoolers learn more about foods, especially during a stressful time in their lives. How to play. On the game panel, as you can see, there are two sides, the food item side and the food category side. The user's job is to click on the food item and the corresponding food category and press the button match that is located right here. And if the answer is right, and basically if the a food item and the food category are matched correctly, then it will appear on the plate to the far right hand side, and the plate will also turn green, suggesting that you got it right. If the answer is wrong, then the food item and category won't appear on the plate, but instead the user will receive an error message. The plate will turn red and an image will pop up saying try again. The goal is to match all 5 foods given a certain amount of time to earn the highest number of points. On the far right hand side, the game displays the level number in which you're playing, and you have the chance to choose at the beginning the time remaining and the total points accumulated during this level. Some unique features I added to the game is that when the user tries to match the same item and category multiple times, it doesn't work. And also, the play game button is disabled when the user is playing the level. Between the levels, the difficulty increases and the food items become slightly more difficult to categorize, and the starting time is reduced, which helps the user learn faster and more efficiently. First, I used 1D arrays. In my code, I approximately used 3 arrays, which are all used to store information gathered from reading the text file, food-items.txt, which I'll talk later about, with the food items as well as the categories that will be used in the game. I also used text files. I used one text file, which is called food-items.txt, and separates the food items from the categories with a comma, which allows the scanner to read through it more efficiently. For input-output, I used the input scanner for the purpose of reading my text file, which had a list of food items and their categories. For example, in my code, I used the scanner1, to read the next file of each line of the text field and store it in a temporary string and an array. I also used arrays to store information, used files to store food items and food categories, and used final constants for all variables. The game differentiates when the user clicks on a different levels. Based on this input, the game adapts. I first used the modulus sign after calculating the random method and using the remainder between the length of the food items array and the randomized numbers to get the food items from the food item array more efficiently and to ensure that none of the food items repeat. Next, I used the mat.random method in order to randomize the arrays, numbers, food items, and food categories. Next, control structures. I used a series of if-else statements and for loops and while loops. For the if-else statements, I used them to determine the state of the game, whether the game is finished, starting, or playing. For loops, I used them to sift through data and store values into arrays. For example, the food items array and the food categories array. And I finally used the while loop to keep on reading the text file by using has next line. For the GUI interface, I use JButtons and JList. The buttons are common throughout my game in order to navigate from a panel to a panel or from a card to a card. The JList that I use hold the food items and categories on the main game panel. For the layouts, I used a mixture of border layout, grid layout, card layout, and flow layout. For border layout, I used it to organize the main panel and the tutorial panel, the grid layout for the game panel, the card layout to navigate more efficiently, and flow layout for the various buttons. I also used one frame for the various panels, and the action I used was action listener, and to check for if the user actually pressed the buttons or not. And I also had to set the action command and use the action perform method. Feedback was very helpful with designing this game, and it gave me ideas to use another component rather than buttons and JFlows, which was JList, which made it more intuitive. And it also helped me accomplish my goal of creating an easy-to-understand game that many people can play. This feedback was crucial to my game development because it influenced my UI interface.